Greetings, dear viewers, ladies and gentlemen. This is Addis Dialogue, which deals with current issues unfolding in Ethiopia. Ethiopia has recently celebrated the victory of Adwa, featuring Ethiopians from all walks of life with assortments. This East African nation has also celebrated the victory of Karamara. So how can the current generation scale up these victories in their day-to-day activities and in their pursuit to ensure economic and political independence? Ladies and gentlemen, my guest today is Asnakew Sisay. He is African and Middle East Studies and Research expert, author, Africa Think Tank, and International Solitary Group leader. He's also the president of Mission Possible. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for coming to our studio on such a short notice. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Atosh.
One of the great events that Ethiopia celebrated last month was the victory of Adwa, as you know.
Yeah.
And whenever we talk about the victory of Adwa, the idea, the notion of Pan-Africanism is there.
True.
So I want to ask you this question. What is the significance and the contribution of this landslide victory of Adwa for the notion and the movement of Pan-Africanism? How are the two interlinked?
Yeah, this Adwa victory is a great one, a great credit for black community.
Yeah.
It's Ethiopian undefeated victory, and we defeated the Italian superpower, the invader Italian army, and the very modern army from Europe. But before that, I need to talk about Berlin Conference.
Okay.
Yeah, because Italian was not came without any obligation or without any rule or constitution.
Okay.
The Berlin Conference constitution gives them a chance to invade Ethiopia, Somalia, and Libya.
You mean the scramble for Africa, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Because the scramble of Africa was done in Berlin by Chancellor Otto Bismarck. So he collected 14 countries, including Germany. Germany was a leading part, that Berlin Conference, 1 America, and 13 European countries.
Whoa.
So they divided Africa for the superpower of Europe. So the Italian got Libya, Somalia, and Ethiopia. For them, for the Italian invaders, unfortunately, they defeated in Adwa. So I can say we Ethiopians defeat the Italian invaders, plus we smash down the Berlin Conference constitution and many policies.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big victory for
Absolutely.
Africa, of course, especially for Ethiopians and for all of Africans, the African Americans, the Afro-Caribbeans, and all the black community, and even the white people who support the anti-apartheid, anti-colonialist struggle. Yeah.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
So obviously the victory of Adwa goes beyond Ethiopia, beyond Africa. It's global, right?
Yes, that's true. And that's why Ethiopianism is flourished since Adwa victory. Ethiopianism is an idea is established, especially from the Adwa victory. Okay. So Ethiopianism means undefeated and against colonialism, against terrorism, and against apartheid. Yeah, this Ethiopianism is the base for Pan-Africanism. So before Pan-Africanism, there was Ethiopianism, which is working in southern part and western part of Africa. For example, you can take the South Africa ANC, how they establish the ANC.
Right.
And the ANC established because of the Ethiopianism. Ethiopianism means undefeated, undefeated ideology. That's why. And even when they create ANC the first time, they were talking about the Ethiopianism because they were suffering since 1906. They were suffering because of the Dutch and Britain colonialism.
So obviously the victory of Adwa means a lot to Africans, to other African nations on the continent.
Yeah, it's a lot for all black communities.
And definitely, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, let's now first focus on the continent of Africa.
Okay.
As you know, Adwa means a lot to the continent, to the people of Africans. So
yes, true.
Africans cherish Adwa, we can say. And as a result, many nations, maybe more than 23 nations, have adopted the flag of Ethiopia.
The Ethiopian
in one way,
flag, yes.
The color, I mean the color,
yes.
in one way or the other.
Yeah.
So how can this show the solidarity of the respective countries with Ethiopia? And can we also attribute this to the victory of Adwa?
Yeah, this victory of Adwa is remain our flag. It's the Ethiopian flag, but most of the countries was under colonialism. They don't have a flag. So when they get their freedom, they took an example of freedom, undefeated one. It's the Ethiopian flag. That's why they copy, but in different, according to the international law, the different size and maybe horizontal and vertical and different. Yeah. Like, for example, Congo Brazzaville is diagonal. When you go to Ghana, it's upside down. When you go to just like that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as such, the victory of Adwa is said to be the torch bearer of independence and freedom for the whole continent of Africa and the beacon of hope for the entire globe. Adwa is tantamount to freedom or emancipation or liberation and independence. And this emancipation or liberation goes beyond, as you said, Africa to the entire world, especially for the black people that had been under different forms of oppression and colonization, things like that. So how significant has the victory of Adwa been for the entire globe, especially for the movement of emancipation, including those in the Caribbean?
Most of these African or Caribbean or Afro-Caribbean countries are related with Ethiopia, one way or the other. If you take the Jamaicans, they believe we are from Ethiopia. You can see the Rastafarians, how they took the name and they believe with the Rastafarians method. And also, we have a very rich, spiritually, in the Bible, our name is there. The country name is there. So they believe in Ethiopia. Even currently, if you saw, if you heard about the Ugandans, over 100 Christians, that's the country only we can saved. We can saved by this country, and the world is going to destroy. And they believe that way. So it's not like what I said or you said it, but they believe it.
All right.
We didn't go to preach them. They said it. You can see the Jamaicans, Rastafarians, they said it. We didn't preach them.
Yeah.
They believe so. So we have to, we can't follow them, but we have to respect what they believe.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the way how they believe in Ethiopia, also how they believe, because we have a very, very good and established freedom and undefeated. What means Ethiopianism means undefeated. Yeah, always winner.
Yeah.
That's it. That's our motto at the beginning of Adwa. Since then, the Africans, the black community, the Afro-Caribbeans follow that method, follow that motto.
Right.
So that's the black people motto. And that's the symbol of our flag as well. It's the symbol of undefeated, free country, free people. That's the motto. That's a sign of our flag. That's why many of the countries copy after their freedom.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So thanks to Adwa, Ethiopia is synonymous with freedom, liberation, and emancipation. And
thanks to our ancestors. They gave us a free country, and always we thank them. Yeah. even the others, black people, black communities, thanks for the Adwan ancestors. Yeah.
Definitely.
And most of the singers is singing about the victory of Adwa and the Ethiopian free people and defeated people and the Ethiopian heroes.
Yeah.
Also, these days, they are giving the name Minilik, the actress, the actors for the new baby. They are giving Minilik. So it's flourished all over the world. Yeah, we can't, even the Empress Taitu.
Yes.
She was one of a hero in the, and her credit for Adwa victories a lot. You can see the women's equal treated at that time in Ethiopian side. The Italians never had the, you can say, they are telling us they are modern country, everything, but they never, the women never came as a soldier of Italy. But our women was participated in Adwa. Empress Taitu
Yes.
is leading one region, the Beggemeder army. She was leading.
Wow.
Yeah. And she has a few arsenal and cavalier, also many leaders. We respect women's rights before the Europeans or Americans.
That's interesting.
And also the logistic part was the women's side. The nurse, the medical team was the women's. Even the cooker and also the logistic side was, and to refill the, we call it koda, the container, the water container is the woman's duty at that time. And they, their responsibility was high and they did it perfectly.
Wow. Apart from, you know, commemorating this landslide victory annually with assorted events, what can the current generation scale up now as we speak, especially in their day-to-day activities and also in pursuit of, you know, development, unity, things like that, especially when it comes to the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam and in their pursuit of economic independence? How can the current generation, the younger generation and the future generation, posterity, how can they, you know, scale this victory up and translate it into reality or day-to-day experience, in your view?
Yeah, the new generation also did the same thing, and they repeat another victory in Karamara. It's about 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And also that's also another victory, the Ethiopian victory against the Ziad Barre's invader. That's a great victory, and we're proud of it. Because at that time we had we were entrapped by the West. We couldn't get our armaments from United States of America. So they turned down, after they took our money, they turned down our request. But same time, the Ziad Barre has full of equipped by the Russians armaments. So easily he invaded Ethiopia. We never had a support from East and West, but the Ethiopians, the militias, and the Fanos came all over the Ethiopians region, and they defeat the Ziad Barre's invader. That's another historical victory, the Karamara victory.
Indeed.
Also, as you said, the dam is all the Ethiopian people, the young or the old, contribute their money, and we did it by our own money. We didn't ask or request or beg World Bank or any kind of financial institution. That's another victory. And I can see now, still they have their heroes' feelings. I can't count as a hero the war between Ethiopia and Eritrea, the war between Tigray and Tigray rebels and Ethiopia. And this is a civil war, but I couldn't take it because we are killing each other. I can't say someone who's killing his brother and to become a hero, I can't take it as a hero. Yeah. So that's a civil war, it's different. But if someone, any countries come against Ethiopia, we defeat them. the invaders.
Whenever we talk about, I'm so glad that you raised up the Karamara victory. Whenever we talk about the Karamara victory, as you know, that when the Somali invaded Ethiopia, there were also other Sudanese people that tried to, infringe into the territorial integrity of Ethiopia along with those aggressors.
Yeah.
So how can the Ethiopians learn, especially when it comes to becoming on the alert on a daily basis or always as much as possible? What's the lesson that this generation, can take in this regard?
Yeah. Thank you. The Sudan is always the government. The Sudanese government also, they are aware now they never been by themselves. Someone is pushing at the back. When we are weak, they took their advantage to invade our land. You can see during the Somali war, it is a group against Ethiopia, the group countries. And you can see now, when there is a conflict between Tigray and the Ethiopian Defense Force, they came 40 until 60 kilometers inside. Still we have inside problem here. The South Sudan rebel came like 200 kilometers. So they are watching you. When you are weak, everyone is coming against you. We Ethiopians never go an inch to invade any countries, never, never. Except we went to as a peacekeeper in Congo, Korea, Burundi, Rwanda,
and
Somalia,
yeah.
and any other countries, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the message is clear here, right? So the message is unity and solidarity is very important, and Ethiopia must always be strong.
Yeah, by any means.
Yeah.
When we are united and we are shining, everyone respects you. When you have a civil problem, incident, that's why, you see, our internal problem is created since when? Berlin Conference. You can see that. That one is as a relay. It passed after First World War, it passed to League of Nations. League of Nations still against Africa. We were member of League of Nations. From Africa, we were the only one at that time. So that article is a little bit shiny from the Berlin Conference. There was a superpower changed from German to France and Britain. So France and Britain lead that League of Nations, so they were against Africa. Still, both of them are colonized many countries. So they are entertaining that group from Berlin Conference. But the number of the members are a little bit up, more than 50.
Okay.
Since then, they were not entertain or support the African issue. After League of Nations, it came the Second World War. As soon as it finished Second World War, there were a new superpowers coming, Russia, China, and America. Yeah. So they have to share it. So they should have to go back, France and Britain, but America need supporter because he afraid the new ideology from China and Russia, socialism or communism. So the Americans need to keep them as a superpower because of the vote. He needs the vote.
Right.
So 5 superpowers leading the world now, but more shiny that articles, but they are not looking equally all the world. They are unfair and the criminal organization actually, like League of Nations and Berlin Conference. From Berlin Conference to League of Nations, from League of Nations to United Nations.
Yeah.
And one thing, you can see the EU, when they establish the EU article, they keep the European interest. What's the European interest? It is shiny when you read, just to keep the European interest. What we are looking at, the European interest is Africa.
Right.
Looting African mine, that's their interest, nothing else. So you couldn't say no for their looting in Africa. You can see in Congo how they are suffering, Central Africa, and all African countries. We are suffering because of their rule. Yeah.
That's a great point, really. Yeah. Let me take you back to the issue of Adwa and also the second Ethio-Italy war. As you know, Ethiopia has played significant diplomatic roles, especially for the formation of the then OAU and the current African Union. So how do you describe the diplomatic success that Ethiopia achieved then?
Yeah, that was a very great achievement, actually. At that time, the Ethiopians never fell in diplomacy, especially Emperor Haile Selassie and Prime Minister Aklilo, and all Katamaifru and the rest of the ministers. We have a very few educated people, but Emperor Haile Selassie used them as a diplomat and a resource of the country as well. And that's a great achievement. During this, after the Adwa battle, Adwa victory, 40 years the Italians were prepared themselves, but they were signing as a free country immediately after Adwa victory. But they denied, Mussolini denied the Ethiopian freedom and tried to invade again after 40 years with a heavy machine gun tanks and arsenals and biological gas, and just came, and it was a real terrible time, and they tried to occupy Ethiopia during the war, and Ethiopians heroes at that time they found no contribution to keep Ethiopia safe and free. The Fano or the heroes is protect the nation. 5 years non-stop fighting with Italians. Also, Haile Selassie, after he started war against the Italian invader, they advised to move some other country like Britain. But he went to Geneva and requested the League of Nations, because we were supposed to protect by League of Nations, but they turned down our protection and they ignored, including Britain, France, everyone. But we appealed there, and Haile Selassie went to Bath and stayed there. But still, they communicate with heroes, the Ethiopian heroes, and the generals, and he coordinated from Bath. And but if Emperor Haile Selassie were in Ethiopia and the invaders killed him, that's a big shame for Ethiopia. All the heroes,
that would be devastating.
Devastating.
Yes.
So that's why even the heroes advise him to leave the country and to struggle from outside. Aklilu and the others ministers was fighting diplomatically about Ethiopians invaded by the Italian army.
Let's also talk about the struggle. As you know, in the past, during the Adwa war time, Africans were fighting for their political independence. Now I think there is this transition from that kind of war or struggle to one that is seeking economic independence. So how successful has Africa been in this regard, and what remains to be done in your view?
Yeah, it's very tough, and it's a big question. And you can see most of the African countries are free. They got their own leader, they got their own flag, they got their own freedom. We say that. But most of the African countries are not free, still under the previous colonizers. After this freedom, colonizers, the colonialism is changed its name. They call it neocolonialism. Neocolonialism is still in Africa. You can see 14 Francophone African countries. The previous colonizers were France. Still nowadays, 14 the African countries, they are paying colonial tax for France. They couldn't move or exchange their money without the blessing of French National Bank.
Whoa.
Still they are colonized. indirectly neo-colonialism.
Of course.
Still, the Britain colonized many countries in Africa.
Many of the Anglophones.
And they call it Commonwealth.
Oh, yeah.
How come there is no wealth in common, after all? But they are monitoring all the countries. Even when the Britain is assigned the ambassadors, they call it differently. For example, Ethiopia never colonized. If they send an ambassador here, he's just ambassador, ordinary ambassador. But when they said, in the other ones they sent to Kenya, it's different name. Yeah, so it's from the royal, actually.
Yeah,
that
the
much difference. Yeah, the
yes.
Commonwealth. Yeah,
yes.
There is no wealth in common anyway with the colonizers, and you can see how they interfere in interference in Africa during after Madame Zuma, the
right.
AU.
Yes.
When Madame Zuma resigned from AU, there was a big challenge for AU, because the struggle is between France and Britain at the AU seat.
Between the Anglophone and Francophone.
Yes, that's why they couldn't get a number of seats. That's why Madame Zuma should stay another 6 months. After that, the French won. Moussa Faki took the seat. Just like that. And the Africans, they have to struggle to stand by themselves. They are not by themselves. Still, they are collecting from EU and America to support their office. That's a big shame, shameful action. Yeah, that's why we couldn't stand Africa, stand by itself.
Let me make this question final. One of the great achievements the continent of Africa has notched up is the AfCFTA, as you know, African Continental Free Trade Area. This is something to be appreciated, to be admired on the one hand. On the other hand, there is the World Trade Organization and the AfCFTA and Nepal. So how can the two entities go along? Can they go along, or can they, go against each other? What's your take on that?
My opinion, it doesn't go together. Actually, Ethiopia took a few measures in this kind of trade, especially when we sell our telecommunication to Safaricom is from Kenya.
Right.
We could sell Emirates, we could sell Europe, Orange, whatever, but we sell it for Kenya. That's a good measure. And we had a very great one step with Eritrea and Somalia. That was a very great measure. Now it's getting, faded now. But I can see, I was, the last 2.5 years, I was around East Africa. And I can take an example from Nairobi. Okay. All vegetables transported to Europe. But Africans are starving around. They should have to share. They should have to reconnect or trade by themselves. Yeah, that one, like what you call the Americans,
the AGOA.
AGOA, yeah.
Right.
When they gave you a chance, they knew when they are gonna pinch you or hammer you.
Right.
They say when they need, you can't use that AGOA system. When you are out of that line, they deny. You can go with the Eastern Bloc, the China, the neighbors country. Why the Libya and Nigeria have big amount of oil? Why we are bringing from Asia or Middle East? We cannot trade with Africans. That one is keep us strong, interact each other, need each other, and getting together. Unity. Thank you so much, Asnakew. Thank you so much for coming to our studio and for giving me such a wonderful idea. Thank you so much, Ato Shifara. Absolutely. Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's program. Thank you as well for having been with us so far. Until I see you next time with another program, it's goodbye from me, Shifara Olak.